Today I'm speaking with Gurschulle Neethling from Liberty, an expert in financial planning, particularly in the context of retirement. Gurschulle and I will be talking about the recent developments in the two-pot retirement system, what Liberty experienced in the first 2 or 3 weeks of two-pot officially being implemented, and just a general conversation about the role of advisors, and what we really need to reiterate when talking to our clients. Thank you for your time, Gurschulle.
Good morning, Renee. Thank you for having me.
So before we begin, can you tell me a bit about your background and your role at Liberty, please?
Yeah, so I've been in the financial services industry for more than 20 years, showing my age. And for the past 10 years, I've worked closely with advisors. At ABSA, it was more on the retail side, and we worked extensively at developing advisor value proposition and supporting the advisors in the back office side of helping them maximize and optimize their practices. Here with that Liberty Corporate Benefits, we are obviously in the corporate side where the clients are now employers. And we always see it from the administration perspective, because what we do is we do the full values chain in the administration, where we onboard an employer, we make sure that we administer, receive the contributions, we make sure that it's adequately, appropriately invested in terms of the mandate, and then obviously we make sure that we pay the benefits in those times when the people need it most. And that is obviously the purpose of making sure you retire, and making sure that you have adequate, resources in place when you do retire or when that significant event happens. In the advisory space, what I've tried to achieve is for advisors to see us as a partner, to see us in the back office side as an extension of themselves, so that we do the best for our joint mutual client. I think the advent of the two-pot legislation has actually brought that to fore even more, because you now have active members who can now all come in and submit a claim, whereas before it would only be when you leave your employment or when you die or retire. And now you're an active member, and now we, for example, expected more than 170,000 potential members coming to knock on our doors for that savings claim. And so we had to develop a digital solution, because there was no other way we could do this. And also realizing that your first point of call for any member would obviously be the advisor. So we have collaborated extensively with our advisors over the past while to make sure that we develop a solution that can help both of us. But the one element that you can never sell is the ability to advise the members appropriately. And that is where we really look towards advisors to support in that regard.
Yeah, my next comment was going to be, I think the role of the advisor is so important and so critical when it comes to retirement, making sure our clients are okay when they retire, considering also now that people really live longer, that money has to stretch so much longer. So I think that the importance of the advisor, like you say, has never been this important. And as you mentioned, in came two-pot, who threw the whole apple cart over, because now that's a new level of advice that the advisor needs to engage with the clients. Okay, so 1 September came, and 1 September is gone. You had certain expectations in terms of what you're going to see in terms of payouts and claims. Take me through that first week and 2. What did you experience at Liberty?
Yes, I think I want to just start with the weekend before, because we were working all in the office, all hands on deck. And really the big thing was we didn't know what to expect. Anything could happen. And we obviously, like many of our competitors in the industry, we all struggled with the same dilemma: tight timelines, having to develop a digital solution or some solution to deal with the magnitude of what could happen. In our world, for example, we pay 5,000 claims a month on average. We've paid out to date, and I give you hot off the press, we've paid out almost 6,000 and paid fully settled, SARS's portion settled, and we're nearing the 80 million mark in that regard as payouts. And it's the third week, and like I said, we pay about 5,000 a month, and we've already hit that in 3 weeks, and it's ramping up. We have about we receive 1,000 claims on a daily basis, and we have another 12,000 in the process, various stages of the process. So if I look back and what we've seen, I'm a little bit, I think that we expected worse. I think what industry has done, I think the education and the collaboration by industry generally, and the attempts by the industry to make sure that we educate, I think, the members out there has helped to a certain extent. Because Rianet, we could have had 170,000 people come knock on our doors on that Monday, because that is the number of people that were eligible. So we did not see that. And like I said, this is where we are after 3 weeks. It's still significant, but I think we had an opportunity to breathe, to test our systems, to make sure that where we had glitches, that we fixed them and remediated them. So I think that we were afforded that opportunity. But what was great for us as Liberty Corporate Benefits, that we were ready for people to submit. And even when we had challenges in those first week, we pivoted. We made sure that we sorted out our problems and then enabled people to come back in. The other interesting part that we had, we weren't sure how many people were going to come physically to Braamfontein or any of our offices in the regions, right? So we were still debating with our facilities people, with our security, can we make sure that we have enough capacity, and if people should come in en masse. So we ensured that we were ready for that. We made sure that we had a lot of communication, pamphlets, if people would come to our office, so that they could read and that they could look at it, and make sure that they are educated. And what we also tried to do through our digital solution, because the Liberty Corporate chat on WhatsApp does not just enable you to claim, but there's a facility on frequently asked questions. So once again, trying through that to educate and make sure that members understand and try to understand, before they rush in to just submit a claim. So I think it's okay. We feel that it's a success story, and we have landed something amazing, and we're very proud of ourselves in that regard.
It sounds positive, number one. So that is really great. And I think the point that you made about the fact that there has been really a lot of effort from industry to communicate and to talk to clients about the implications, because I still think that people misjudge the tax implication, and two, the long-term effect for the day that you retire. But let's go back to the tax story. I know there was a story or two about people that still owed SARS money, and when their payouts happened, they got a surprise. Maybe you can share that story?
Yeah, in the early days already, and obviously that had increased as well, members submitted a claim, and as we've tried through the information we've shared, and SARS as well has also been vocal to try and help people to understand their tax status, because the big difference with a savings claim versus retirement claim is the tax. So when you take it, the savings claim, it's taxed at your marginal tax rate. To determine that, you have to obviously know your annual income. Now, that is the first dilemma we picked up. People not understanding what annual income is. And because SARS has not been able to validate it, SARS would take whatever is on the form or whatever we submit through that we received from the member, and they would take the higher of what you've submitted or what they have on record. So the problem though is that it's an estimate, right?
Yeah.
And so they would apply the tax, number one. So the first dilemma is if it wasn't the right tax rate, when you do your recons, when they do the recons at the end of the tax year, we are anticipating that some members are going to come to us and say, why am I being taxed more now? What have you done? Because SARS will now balance their books and now determine your actual annual income and then apply the tax rate. So that's the first problem. The second problem is if you owe money to SARS, what we have seen, and this is what happened to a couple of members in the early days, and it obviously continues, if your tax status is not in order, you owe SARS money, they are applying that to your savings claim before payout. And we've had these members who submitted their claim, everything went well, and we had to tell them there was nothing to pay out because of their affairs not being in order with SARS. So we call this an IT88. So it's important that members go and check their status, go and understand, because once the claim comes through Rianet, we can't pivot back. It's gone through and it's done. So that is the added complexity around this. And then I just want to touch on, from the tax perspective, the reality is your money, we've moved it into the savings pot. It still remains invested. If you don't do anything, it will grow exactly like it was before. There are no added, hidden things we've done. It remains invested. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to rush. And when you wait until you retire, you get the benefit, the tax benefit, because there is a tax benefit that SARS offers upon retirement that helps you have a little bit more in your pocket than should you take it now through withdrawing your savings component.
Someone made a comment that apparently a social media post that no tax were deducted from them, and I think it's important that we just remind these people that SARS is not asleep.
No.
You might not have got it now, but that no money that will happen a little bit later. So I think SARS is 100% on it. So don't be under any illusion around that part.
For sure.
You mentioned your bot, and there's two things I want to talk about. You mentioned your bot, and the other thing I want to touch on is obviously when people come in and when they ask the bot questions, when people are uncertain if they should do it or not, what are some of the things that you've picked up? Were you able to convince a few people not to do it, or was it more generally, I made my decision, my emergency is a real emergency and I need the money and that's it? Or were there cases where you could actually make people think about it a little bit longer?
So we have some interesting stats in that regard. So on the chat, we could actually track how many times people came in. So like I said, what this bot does, it also gives you access to very useful information. So it will tell you what your savings component is in the funds that we have. So it does that. And it actually guides you through, that you'll be taxed, that you must have a certain amount in the savings component in order to qualify, to be eligible, over 2,000 Rand, etc. So we've seen more than 78,000 people coming to that chat that we've been tracking, right? And like I said, we have 5,000 we've paid out and another 10 to 12,000 that's happening in the process. So I do believe that people want information, and we saw that going in there. They have access to information. You're able to exit at any point before you want to actually, there are various opportunities. You don't just, now you're locked in and suddenly, okay, now I have to go. So there are various opportunities for exiting. We ask, do you want to continue? You'll be taxed, all of these things. So that I think has been great. And from these stats, I think people wanted to just know. They want information, and our job and with the advisors is to make sure we get that information out there. Rianet, the interesting with what's happening in the industry is that and I think generally in the world, because we have access to information that's at our fingertips, the onus gets pushed on to members, to individuals, to consumers more and more to be in charge. But our problem is that we're not all really understanding these decisions that we have to make. And so ourselves, with the advisors, incumbent on us to try and use every opportunity to try and educate. I want to use a little example. The other day we were sitting, I went down to the walk-in center and an individual came through and they wanted some help on the bot. And so I said, okay, maybe there was a little area that they were not really understanding, and I helped through that. But I used the opportunity to say, do you know that your annual, it's going to be taxed at your highest rates? And he said, oh yeah, but I will be taxed any case. And I said, but did you sort out your affairs at SARS? Because if you haven't, and he says, no, but I'll just go to my other fund and I'll go and access it there. I've got other funds as well. So, and she's just, you just try and saying, it's always better if it's not an emergency. But the attitude was, I'm just going to go and take from wherever I can, and I'm just going to use it. So we need to try every opportunity to just remind people of the benefits of preserving for longer.
Yeah, it makes me think of people that use their one credit card to pay their other credit card to pay their. Yeah, it's the same concept, and I think that longer term. Do you? I assume all your corporate fund members do have access to advisors, whoever they deal with in their space, and it would be interesting to hear how many from a corporate environment. I know, I mean, when you're an individual, you can go to your advisor, but I think often it gets neglected on a corporate EB level. Yes. Where people either don't know who their advisor is, or don't feel comfortable, or feel that they're empowered enough, like you said, and they make that decision on themselves. So I think from the insurer's side, the financial service provider's side, there needs to be also really push, and I'm sure that happened, to say, remember, we've got the advisors that can talk to you before you make a big decision like that.
Yes, no, we do. And like you said, I think in the corporate side, because you, as an advisor, you contract with an employer, but your responsibility is there to the members, actually, and to make sure you help and guide, and that members are afforded enough information to make wise decisions. So yes, I do think that that's something we must continue to work on. And what we do is, as soon as we realize that an employer does not have, or members come through in the preserver, we then guide them to where they can get some advice. So that is what we do.
So as much as this can potentially really be a direct thing where the client deals with, say, a liberty, what I do value and what I do see is that you do recognize more than ever the important role the advisor is playing, and that we cannot do this without them. I see it, and I'm sure the advisors listening to this will see that Liberty really values their role in this whole process.
Definitely. And over the years working with advisors, there was a time when you have a robo-advisor, a bot, or for example, we realized the human connection has no price on it.
100%.
The human connection is paramount. And what we try to do in the back office is to make the lives easier of an advisor, but that relationship you cannot put a price on. And what we then need to do, and what I strive for at Liberty Corporate Benefits, is to help ensure that you can do that. You can do the thing that you are great at, and I assist you on the back end to help with the processes and the technicalities around how you actually navigate through the journey of while you're working and trying to save for retirement, that we help there to optimize that process so that you can do what is critical for the members.
I think that was a very nice last parting message to our audience, who are the advisors. So thank you for that, Gurschulles. It was really insightful talking to you. And maybe a good idea to catch up in a few months again and see, have we seen a decline? Where are we in terms of that? But thank you very much for the very, very insightful conversation.
Thank you, Rianet. It was a pleasure.